Hello. I'm going to start a series on the yamas and the niyamas. I don't often talk about this stuff unless it's with someone in person because there's so much literature out there about the yamas and niyamas, and there's so many great books about it. It doesn't really make sense to add more into the mix. But people always tell me when they hear my take on it that they enjoy it. So I'm going to do that. If you see the name of my channel, you know my name is Satinder. Sat is um, the root word for Satya. Satya is truth. In truth, Satya is the first of the yamas. It's supposed to be, Yama really means god of death is named Yama, but it's really about control. So when you think about pranayama, that's learning to control the prana in the body. Um, Many times people say that through the idea of lack of control is how you control it. So there's a lot of different takes on it. But the yamas are a set of kind of conditions or real, not real, ideas of how you're supposed to deal with the outside world. But my guru was one who talks about how all of these things have to be applied to the self first. So if you are trying to be truthful and honest, and you're only doing so outside yourself, how do you have a basis on truth in the first place if you aren't doing it within yourself? Within yourself is where it all happens first. So Satya is something that you have to apply to the self. The idea of being honest, and if you read some of the Shastra, it says the truth should not be spoken that is not kind, and I want to say something like sweet. I'm not remembering the exact translation right now, but I am not kind of the person who subscribes to being terribly overly kind and overly peaceful and sweet about it, because to me the truth is the truth. Now we all have our own take on the truth. There's belief that there's one underlying truth of everything. There's also belief that everyone has their own truth. I don't see those two things as mutually exclusive. Maybe there is one underlying truth, but we all have an interpretation of it. If we all sit on the corner or waiting on a corner on a street, and an accident with two different or three different cars happens in front of us, you can ask each person sitting and watching the wreck, and they will each tell you a different version of the story. So I think it's okay to have your own personal take on it. And based on the fact that you have had someone who has done deep study with all this stuff present the ideas to you, and then you take it inside your mind and inside your heart and you figure out what it means to you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, truth to me is very important. And when I got this name, when I was becoming Sikh many, many years back, that was one of the things they took into consideration. They looked at my chart, and they take the Guru Granth Sahib and open up, and the first letter is Sa of that page, so they have to name me after that, using that first letter. So it became Satinder. Satinder is Sat is perfect for me because I've always been very honest. When I was young, I was having migraines at the age of 14 quite often. I think I remember now faking a few of them, but a lot of them were very real. And my mom took me to the pediatrician, because at the time you could still go to the pediatrician until you were 15 or 16, something like that. I don't know how it is nowadays. And he didn't really give me medication. He told me if I didn't I was holding on to everything so tight, clenching inside myself. And if I didn't start allowing these feelings and these emotions that I was gripping onto to flow and go through myself. This is me paraphrasing his words, not the way he said it to me. I don't remember the exact words. if I didn't let it go and surrender this clenching around them, I was going to give myself an aneurysm. And I didn't really know what an aneurysm was, but I remember him describing it to me, about a, kind of a blood vessel bursting in your brain and the possibility of death and all that. And I was not scared of death. I've never really been scared of death, but I also wasn't ready to die. I wasn't that old. I hadn't gotten out of the house and had real life experiences yet, in my opinion at the time. Now I know I had some, but so when I took into consideration his words and I was going back into my regular life after that, I realized I needed to just stop holding on to it. And to me, the truth became what was coming out of my mouth, because I'm seeing the thing or experiencing whatever's going on. I'm taking it into my heart and I'm using my mind to figure out what it means to me. And then I was holding on to it and saying, this is damaging, it's gonna. But when you let it out, you kind of release its hold over you. And that was really brilliant to me, because I did almost immediately quit having migraines. I don't know, I don't really remember specifics of it, but I do remember that much, that there were, we're talking 40 years ago. So I do remember that the migraines stopped very quickly after I stopped holding on to it, and I quit having headaches. And then other things happen in life and you go back to having headaches and holding on to truths again. But you learn, you kind of go through it again and you go through it again, and then you finally like, why am I keep doing the same thing over and again? So you let it go. So now I'm very known for upfront, open, and honest responses when people ask me questions. And I kind of developed a phrase that, if you can't handle the truth, then don't ask me the question, because I don't hold it back. And if I don't know you, it's very shocking. But a lot of times people who know me really well find it to be refreshing, because I don't hold back. So every little bit of how I feel about everything. And I think that's important. It's important for me, surely. I don't know how important it is for others. But it's nice to not have that little residual that comes inside, stays inside you. It never leaves, and it becomes a block of energy, a block in your muscles, a block in your in your aorta, whatever it becomes. I don't want that. I want to have a full, free and clear body, full, free and clear mind, and open heart. And if I can let it out and that happens, okay. So most people who are in my life regularly and know me well know that that's going to happen. So they expect it and they aren't disturbed by it. Satya is, to me, connecting to something bigger than myself when I'm hearing and experiencing things, and seeing the truth underneath that thing. And then, in my case, often speaking it out. It doesn't have to mean anything more than that, but a lot of times people use it to hurt other people's feelings, or sometimes truths are very funny, and sometimes they're very damaging, especially if you're talking to a person who has not let the truth out, and you are one of the people who let the truth out. I have done that myself. I do not ever mean to hurt anyone's feelings, but it happens because they don't like to let the truth out, and I do. So what I recommend to people, when I was in St. Louis years back, we had a group that would meet and read the Yoga Sutras, because everybody is trying to make more of yoga than just the asana practice. And especially in America, there's a divorce from the original way that yoga was taught. It's taught mostly as asana. So when people discover, after you're doing yoga for so long, you realize there's more to it. There's a whole philosophy behind it. After a group of people that I was teaching discovered about the Yoga Sutras, they wanted to meet and discuss them. So we got together once I think it was every other week, And I invited everyone to get their own translation. I didn't want us to all have the same translation. And then you can read what your translation says, I'll read what mine says, she'll read what hers says, and so on and so forth. And then we would have a discussion. And there was about usually 8 to 10 of us who came to the class. It wasn't really a class, it came to the discussion. And we would discuss amongst ourselves until we all got a generalized idea of understanding of what that sutra meant. And I think that was a great way to do it, because we all have our own ideas of it, and we all have our own perspectives that translate into a very different way of saying these things. And sometimes that's very refreshing to another person. Sometimes it's very off-putting to another person. But off-putting isn't bad, because you have to experience a little bit of things that don't keep you in your comfort zone. And I believe you have to experience a lot more than a little bit, but you have to start with a little bit. You have to get out of the idea that your mindset is the only way of thinking about these things. Otherwise, you're going to kind of go through life with blinders on, and who wants to do that? Life is to be experienced, and we're here to experience it. And sometimes the sutras are considered a way of a set of guidelines, let's put it better that way, a set of guidelines that can help you experience it with a little bit more clarity, a little bit more purity and honesty. But in the tantric viewpoint of, say, Satya comes first in your own mind. So are you being truthful and honest with yourself about every situation that you're involved in? And how are you dealing with it in your mind? How do you make peace with it? How do you feel in your heart the truth and be okay with it? So then your mind has to kind of help your heart figure out how to handle it. And that's an internal job. All of it's an internal job. And then when you get to that place, it comes outside of you. Mine kind of manifests as this. It manifests as me being very bluntly honest with people and upfront. You always know what you're getting with me. I don't go around behind your back and talk about you. And I'm very honest. I'm very truthful from the get-go, whether or not I know you. And that's important to me, that you're also like that. I always say, I'd rather you hurt me with the truth than hurt me with dishonesty, because it's unacceptable to me. So think about that. What does Satya mean to you? And see how you feel, and comment. Talk to you later. Bye.